everybody, and welcome to Bits of Board, where we're talking board games, miniatures, cards, and dice. My name's Michael, and today we're checking out This War of Mine. This is a game that I backed through Kickstarter and received just before this weekend. Perfect timing. This is a storytelling game that really embraces the seriousness of war and the heartbreaking, heart-wrenching decisions that have to be made to ensure your survival. This War of Mine was developed with board gaming as a storytelling platform, and it is meant to be as powerful as books, as movies, as video games on their own. This is a storytelling game, and anyway, let's have a quick look at some stuff in this game, and we'll come back and have a chat with it after. Let's dive in. Alright guys, here is our setup for This War of Mine, and may I say, this is one of the largest boards I have had on the table before. The good news is most of the action is encased on this board here, so you don't need too much extra table space. You just need a little bit of extra room so you can store your character cards. Now, these are randomized at the beginning of the game and drawn from the characters deck up here. Basically, once you've randomized your characters, you base them up using the colored bases here and assigning them a color on the card as well. You also have to assign them a Hunger 2 token, which means they are a little bit hungry. At the very beginning of the game, you have to spend a little bit of time setting up this board. So we've got a number of decks to the right here. We've got our colors deck, which helps us randomize events later. We've got narrative actions and fate cards, which come into play at the end of every round. We've got a number of decks along the top here, and these are called upon throughout the game. The Chapter 1 and Chapter Objective cards are set up throughout the beginning of the game, and they help randomize the story and randomize the experience, so you're never really playing the same game twice. Over here we've got our locations deck, and as we play, we'll populate this area here, our far, distant, and close locations, with these location cards, showing us exactly where we can go and explore throughout the game. Down here we've got a number of decks. We've got the Exploration deck, the Residence deck, the Findings, and the Night Raids, and these are also called upon throughout the game to help randomize the experience. Now across the board here you can see a number of red and blue cards have been laid out, and these are your shelter locations. These add different locations that you can send your characters throughout the game, and yeah, basically the red cards are obstacles and will impede any movement throughout the home, while the blue cards can be searched to gain new resources through the game. Now I won't go into movement just yet, but I'll just say that while the top sides of each card, so these rubble cards, are completely identical, the undersides of these can be quite different. For example, over here, if you were to search this heap, you would find something different to than if you searched this heap. Cool. Now at the beginning of the game, you'll also receive a number of resources and goodies to start the game. We get 3 raw foods, and now each character has to eat one food at the end of every round to maintain their level of ability. We also get 2 water tokens as well, because everyone's got a drink as well. We get a shovel, a lockpick, and these are going to help us get through some of these red locations. We also start the game with 4 component pieces. These are just awesome for little game pieces, and we get some wooden pieces as well. And we can use these components and wood pieces to build stuff throughout the game. Now once all that's set up, we're pretty much good to go, so we can start the game. Now, the other main piece in this game is the journal, and this is essentially, this gets passed from player to player just to show who's in main control. Now, This War of Mine is a shared experience, which means players are going to be working together to resolve the story that is occurring on the board. So, for example, I'm not controlling the blue character here, someone else isn't controlling the green one. We all have equal input. Now, occasionally people are going to disagree on what they want to achieve every round, and that's where the journal comes into play, because whoever is holding holding the journal at any major decision point in the game has the ultimate authority to go ahead or to choose a different action on the board. Now this changes hands quite rapidly throughout the game, so I'll show you exactly how this works. Our first couple of pages here are setup, and then we move on to the first game phase, the morning phase. And this is where we draw our first event. So pretty much the first player will go through this phase, the event phase, draw and resolve the top card from the events deck, and then the journal gets moved to the next player and they complete the next stage. Which makes it a really good solo experience because it's all you, baby. Anyway, let's do this. Let's resolve the first event, which is our chapter 1 card. Now, each chapter card comes with a little bit of flavor text just to give you a bit of insight onto what's going on, but then it's got some instructions on what you need to accomplish to complete this event. Now, this is pretty much just the setup of the objectives deck over here, so we don't need to go through that too much. The book would be passed on to the next person, and then we begin our day actions phase. Now, the day actions is where we get to use each of our characters here, and we get to assign them a place on the board. Now, each character generally has 3 actions that they can make use of every day phase. So everyone will assign everyone for the first phase. We'll complete those. Then we do the second phase, we move them around, and then we do the third phase. Now, the number of phases that any character can go through is represented by these little status tokens here. As you can see, we have 2 white marks here and 1 black mark, which means this character, who is, we've got Amira over here. So Amira's got this one here, and she's going to be able to take part in the first action, the second action, but the third action, because of her level of hunger, she's not going to be able to take part. Now, at the beginning of the game, each of the 3 characters starts off with a level 2 hunger, which means chances are we're only probably going to be able to take the first 2 actions. So let's go ahead and figure out what we want to do. There's a couple of different placement locations that we have access to. We can send someone outside. Now, there's a little bit of a risk of death if you go outside, but this allows you to draw and resolve a visitor's card. So this could be anything from someone's come to trade to a new character being introduced into the game. Now, there can only ever be 4 different characters in the house at any time, so that's just a small limitation that you got to keep your eye on. We've also got this new idea placement location over here. If we were to place a character there, we can choose 2 cards from the ideas deck and move them into the fittings deck. Now, I'll just quickly explain what these are. The fitting cards are things that can be built and placed in empty locations throughout the game board here, and they provide us new placement locations as well. But they have a bit of a cost. So to build a deadfall trap, we would need to spend 5 components, 2 wood, and 2 mechanical parts. Whereas if we go through and if we wanted to build a radio, that would require just a couple of components, electrical parts, and mechanical parts. So we've got to make sure we have these things in our storage area to be able to build them. There are a lot of very, very important things in these decks, so it's a good idea to keep an eye on them. There's no order to those. You can pretty much go through the deck and build whatever you want. Now, the ideas deck here is where this placement location comes into play. We can place one of our characters here to take 2 of the ideas and add them to the fittings deck, which means they can actually be built. We can also send a character down into the basement to poke about. And this is where we can obtain wood and components during this day phase. We've also got the place a new fitting location out here, which is pretty much we grab one of those cards and place it in an empty room, like I said before. They are the major placement locations, but of course we've also got these other cards scattered throughout the board. Now, anytime you see one of these red hands, that's a placement location. So over here at the rubble, we can place a character there to dig through. Now, the rubble cards have got these little requirements, so we can only dig through if we have a shovel or if we place 2 characters. If we were to place there, we flip the card over, and this one pretty much says we remove it from the game. But it opens up this furniture location here, which next turn, we could place one of our characters there to reveal what's on the underside of that furniture card. Cool. Now, movement through here, it's pretty much, you can access any area as long as it's not blocked by something red. So our characters can go as far as this each round, and we can access that rubble, but we can't go as far as to get the furniture straight away. We could climb downstairs here to access the bars, so we can in turn get the furniture. That's also good. Or we can climb upstairs to get to the rubble, the closed door, or get into these heaps here. And that's as far as we can go in this first round. Now, there's no limitations in how far you can move each placement round. You can pretty much just place your character wherever you want as long as they have access to that location. So let's go ahead and get stuck into our first round. So we're going to send one character to the heap here. We might send another character over to this rubble and use this shovel here so they can dig it up. Finally, we might send a character up here to maybe build a little something. Now, one of the things I wish I knew about this game is that cold is going to be one of the hardest things to combat in this game. You absolutely 100% need to build a heater. Now, this one requires 5 component pieces and 3 wood. Unfortunately, we don't have that many component pieces at the moment, only starting the game with 4. So what we're going to do is we'll take our little character down here so they can poke about, and hopefully we can get some more components to use next turn. Chances are though, we'll probably find some in this heap, but let's not leave anything to chance just yet. So the actions are resolved simultaneously, which means that there's no real order to this. So let's do our poke about action first. We have to roll the black dice here and we'll get whatever's shown on the chart here. So let's roll. We get a 10. That is amazing. So we can gain either 4 wood or 4 components. Well, let's take some components and add them to our storage. We are so rich with components. Cool. Let's remove this rubble. We lose our shovel there. Flip our card. That's just remove this card from the game. Wonderful. That is now clear to either build in and move beyond. And finally, we go through this heap pile here. Flip that over, we gain 5 components and 5 wood. That is brilliant. What a rich space that is. So that's our first set of actions. Let's decide what we are going to be doing next. Well, I think now that we've got enough resources to build that heater, we may as well start to build that. So let's pop someone up there so we can build the fitting. Well, let's get into this furniture over here and see what we can find in there. And why not? Let's send someone outside just because, well, we can. All right, so we resolve everything simultaneously. First off, we'll build the heater. Costs 3 wood. So 1, 2, 3. We pop them back in there. And 5 components. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pop them back in our storage. So we build our heater and let's place that in one of these rooms here. Let's put it in that room there. And pretty much if we send someone here on a new round later on, we can, for every 2 wood or books that we have and we want to get rid of, we can discard a cold token. Now, cold tokens are going to be the death of you. So very good to have that built. Let's move on and check what's under this furniture. Wow, we gain 2 mechanical parts, 2 electronic parts, 1 raw food, 1 wood. What a great find. So let's grab that wood, grab another raw food, 2 mechanical parts, 2 electrical parts. Wow. All right, let's do our outside. So with the outside, we've first got to roll the black dice here to see if anything bad happens. We get a 6. So if we had rolled a 1, this character would have been sniped, shot, sadly, and they would receive 2 wounds. Thankfully, we did not get that. So because we weren't shot, we get to draw a visitor's card. So let's grab the top one of these and we resolve this. So we've got the starving neighbors card here. Can we see that? So here is our starving neighbor here, and it's basically saying we've had a starving neighbor arrive at our doorstep. Shock horror. Basically, if we decide to give him food, we can remove misery from the character that has gone outside, or if we decide not to share, we may gain misery. Now, because we've got no misery, I don't see the need in actually handing over any of our food, so let us roll. And basically we need to roll the dice. And if we roll her empathy or lower, so a 5 or lower, she's going to gain a misery. Not good. Let's see how we go. This could have been a terrible, terrible decision. We get a 4, so she gains a misery. No good. So we find her a misery token and then we chuck it underneath her card. Now, as you can see, misery does not start to affect someone's actions until a little bit later. In fact, if we flip it around to misery 2, we see that it still doesn't affect, so that's good. Alrighty, so with all that done, we've come to the end of the day phase. Let's bring all of our characters back in and we move to the dusk phase. Now, this is where we have to eat and drink and stuff like that. So first off, we'll start by eating. So each character has to have one food to not gain a hunger, so that's good. In fact, because they've eaten, we get to lose a hunger. So each one of those guys, each one of our characters will flip over their hunger token. Let me grab one of those to show you. So each character will be flipping over one of their hunger tokens to 1 now because they've eaten. So that's good, which means next round, all of our characters are going to have 3 actions to play with. We discard those food, and next we have to drink. Unfortunately, we only have 2 water to go between all of our characters, which means someone is going to have to go without. Poor Amira is not going to be able to drink tonight, so we are going to roll the dice to find out what happens to her. On a 1 to 5, we raise hunger. On a 6 to 10, we raise misery. We're hoping for a misery roll here. Oh, it's a hunger one. That's not good. All right, I spoke too soon. Poor Amira is actually only going to get 2 actions next round at this stage. All right, so after we've drank our water, we've eaten our food, we move to the evening phase, and this is where we get to decide what our characters are going to do. We can send them to sleep in a bed, which will help regain their fatigue. Currently, no one's fatigued at all, so that's good. We can send someone to sleep on the floor. Now, this is not quite as good as sleeping on a bed, but because we don't have any beds currently, this is about the only option we've got. Thankfully, no one's fatigued. We can send some of our characters to guard duty, and that's this location here. That means that any other characters who aren't on guard duty, they're going to go out and explore the locations that are available. Let's just roll with it at the moment. We're going to send Marco out, and we will have, let's see, poor Amira. She's rubbish. She's going to be on guard duty. This may not be smart playing, but that's what we're going to do anyway. Once we've decided what each of our characters are going to do, every character that's not currently asleep is going to gain a fatigue token. And there goes all of that good work that we achieved last round. Everyone is going to lose an action. No good. Next we move to the scavenging phase. Now I probably should have had these out before, but we're going to draw a couple of locations, which is going to show us, which tells us exactly where our characters can go and explore. Now each location has a few key locations. So here the quiet house has a basement entrance and a closed door. And then it's got a list of special findings down here. So if we're directed to, we can roll the dice, and this is what we will find if we do that. There's also some special rules here as well. We can return 2 exploration cards to the deck to search around with this dice roll here. Now there are a couple of other things floating around on the bottom. We're not going to take too much notice of that at the moment, but that's what each of these cards has got. So we choose a location to send our characters to. Now over here we have a Sniper Junction, and on top of all that stuff that we were talking about before, it's also got a red story point, which means that we have to resolve this at the beginning of the scavenging. So if we decide to send our characters here, we have to resolve event 660 in the Big Book of Stories. So let's do that. Here we go. No, it's the Big Book of Scripts. There we go. So this is a wonderful book full of different story points and script locations. So let's find 660 and resolve that. A famous place, the Domain of Death. We have to roll the black dice. On a result of 1 to 2, we choose one character present and roll the red combat dice. The character may use their prowess to check and if and how many wounds that they suffer. So someone's going to get shot here if we roll a 1 or a 2. So let's roll. It's a 3! Yes, narrowly escaping. No one's getting shot today. All right, so we get to explore this location. So I'm going to move the camera and I'm going to zoom in down here so I can show you the exploration section of the board. Let's dive in. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and explore out here. Our 2 characters, Bruno and Marco, have arrived at Sniper Junction and they didn't get shot, so all is well. Now, because this location was close, we have to draw 14 cards from the exploration deck. And this is how many different chances we are going to have to find something cool. So we pretty much go through top to bottom and resolve. So we've found a hiding place here. Now the hiding place is essentially if we decide to discard 2 exploration cards, so reduce our chances of finding cool stuff, we can take this card and use it in this phase to either ignore an encounter. So we might come up against an encounter where stuff is, the stuff has hit the fan. Or we can use this card to perform a backstab. So we can use it defensively and hide, or we can use it offensively to probably try and kill someone here. So let's do that. Let's discard 2 of our exploration cards and drop them on the deck. Cool. We've got this card in hand. Let's move on to the next one. Stairs Up. We can either look for another way by returning 2 exploration cards to the deck, or we can raise the noise by 2 and re-roll for the noise and roll for the noise. Now, noise is a really interesting one because it's this little red token here. Now, I'm going to place it on the one up here, and I know you won't be able to see it once it nicks off, but noise goes from 1 all the way up to 8. Basically, when we check for noise, we roll the black dice. If we roll our current level or noise or under, we have to draw a residence card. Now, a residence deck is where all the bad stuff happens. This is where we interrupt someone. This is where we find the guys that we've got to fight, pretty much. So hopefully we don't do that. I'm thinking let's risk it and enter. We raise the noise by 2, so currently the noise is 3, and we roll for noise. So let's roll. Let's see how we go. We get a 3. Oh my god, we have to roll. Okay. Sorry guys, we are drawing a residence card. So here we've found some survivors. We determined the number of survivors encountered by rolling the black dice. So let's do that. 7. 2 survivors, guys. And we draw their tokens. So that's where these little guys come into play here. We take 2 of these tokens, and we've got a C and a B. B has a hatchet, which is a close combat weapon, and C has a pistol, which is a firearm. So we put those guys on the little tracker up here, and we place this card on the exploration slot. Until you leave this location, whenever you take anything from the pantry or furniture, roll the black dice. On a 1 to 4, something happens. Oh wow, so the good news is we don't actually have to fight these guys yet. That's cool. So we may return 1 exploration card from the deck, and we can talk to them. So let's do that. Let's try that one out for size. So let's discard you, and to talk to them we read journal entry 638 into our big book of stuff. It's difficult to trust one another. After all, we're just like them. We'd do anything to help our chances of surviving another day. We talk, but everyone is ready to reach for their weapons at any time or simply run off. We always have to be on guard. Who knows if someone's intention is just talk, or whether it's to violently rob the others of all their possessions. Roll the black dice. Fantastic. Let's hope for something good. A 10. Oh my god, this could be good. 1672. So this is basically your choose your own adventure book. 1672. Where are you? Here we go. 1 page back. Yeah. It's good to be able to talk to someone, but their group doesn't seem as close-knit as ours. As we think about it, we get an idea. We could take advantage of this and bolster our ranks. Maybe we should ask one of them to join us. The conversation is really pleasant, and we could use another pair of hands. If you want, draw 1 character from the unused characters deck, then decide if you want them to join the group. If not, remove this character card from the game. Oh, it's gone for good. If yes, place them next to our characters and place hunger level 1 and misery level 1 tokens next to this new character. I say we take someone. So let's draw a new character card from our deck, and we get Anton. All right. Anton is a professor of mathematics. He has 0 prowess, but 7 empathy. And he's got some spirit stuff. Yes, and he's got some spirit bits and pieces down here as well, which we're not going to worry about just yet. He has an inventory of 3. So let's take him on. He seems lovely. We grab a little a gameplay piece for Anton there that's directly sculpted for his looks there, and we add him to our area. Cool. He gets some fatigue, he gets some hunger, and he gets some, what do you call it? Misery, good. And we continue on. So let's draw our next exploration card as it flies away. We found a door. We can peek through the keyhole, return 1 exploration card to look at the next card from the unknown deck. Or we can enter and raise the noise by 1, or just plain old roll for noise. Well, let's have a peek. So let's return this one and have a quick peek at what this one is. Oh, it's a search the heap. We can ignore it, or we can search. All right, I'm liking that. So let's discard this one here and go to the exploration deck. Return 2 exploration cards and raise the noise by 1, or raise the noise by 1 and roll for noise to draw and resolve 1 card from the findings deck. All right, that's good. So we're going to be, yeah, this is good. So let's just return 2 exploration cards. I'm scared to roll more noise. And we draw from the Findings deck. Where are you? Aha. Excellent. Now the Findings cards have got 3 levels on there: the Pantry, Furniture, and Heap. For this particular encounter, because we pulled the Survivors card, if we were to take something from Pantry or Furniture, then we would have to roll the dice here and have to probably deal with those Survivors. But because we've got the Heap, this is what we find. We get an electrical part, some chems, and a cigarette. And then we get to roll a dice and gain something from the Location card. So we got a 5. What do we get? For a 5, we get a shell. Excellent. So here are all of our goodies from that location. We pop them down here and we add this. We're just going to pop that over there and we'll shuffle that into the Findings deck later. Let's continue exploring. Climb up. We can either climb, roll the grey combat die for each scavenging character to determine how many wounds they suffered during the climb, or we can return 3 exploration cards. Now we only have 3 exploration cards, so let's roll that grey dice. This is the grey dice here. It doesn't have too many wound locations on there, which is good for us. So let's see how we go. Character 1, our orange one here, gains 1 wound. Yow. Let's roll for the next guy. 2, what? And green gets 2. This is terrible. I'm sorry, everybody. Good news is we climb up. So let's continue exploring. Draw this one here. We've got some bars. Now this has a map card reference. So we have a look at our map card and we ignore this bars card. If bars don't appear on here, there's no bars there. So we ignore it. Let's draw the next exploration card. Poke about. Yes. Return 1 exploration card or roll for noise to choose 1 findings from the special findings chart for this location. Ooh, that's good. What's on here? We could get some canned food, guys. That'd be pretty good. So let's do that. Let's roll for noise. 3 are under, guys. 10. Yes, we're good. All right. Pop that down. We gain a canned food. This is wonderful. We're getting all this stuff. I know we've wounded some guys, but we're getting gear. And tough luck, roll for noise. Oh, God. All right, here we go. 10 again. Oh, man, I'm rolling well. And that is the end of the exploration phase. So we take all of our exploration cards that we've drawn through there. Your findings card, and we shuffle that back in to the deck here so that it's all ready to go for next time. Any findings go back in there and we shuffle that in. Now, while these 2 characters were out scavenging, our, our poor character back at home has been on guard. So we're going to go over there and resolve a night raid. All right, let's go ahead and resolve this night raids phase. To start this phase off, we have to decide what weapons to give our guards out here. Now, because we don't have any weapons in our storage area, we can't choose anything. So we're just going to draw one of these night raid cards and resolve. Here we've got hobos. That's not good. Now the damage is pretty much what these guys raid and take from us. So here we get, oh, that's not good. We lose 3 tokens or resources, starting with the most expensive. Oh, that's rubbish. Okay, it's not the worst thing in the world. So we are going to lose our lockpick because that is a value. Oh no, that sucks. We're going to lose this raw food first because that is worth 10. See that little yellow number there is how much this is worth. Then we're going to lose our lockpick, and then we're going to lose a mechanical part. That's no good. So they've taken 3 things. Luckily, they don't hurt our character here, and that's pretty much it. So we chuck that back in the Night Raids deck. We'll shuffle that back in, and that's the Night Raids phase done. Now, after every Night Raids phase, we have to choose a couple of cards to add to our Residence deck and Night Raids deck. So at the beginning of the game, we separated the Night Raids and Residence cards. We separated these little exclamation mark cards here because they are a little bit harder to deal with and you don't really want them popping up at the beginning of the game. So we choose any combination of 2 cards to add to these decks. I'm going to add 1 Residence and a second Residence. I don't want any extra Night Raids in there. So we shuffle those into the Residence deck and hopefully we don't have to deal with that. So basically the scavenging party returns and they bring with them all the goods that they found while they were at the location. We have to assign meds and bandages. So if we have any meds or bandages in our storage here, we can assign them to characters, and then we draw a fate card. Now we do have some wounded characters, but no bandages or anything like that, so we're a bit stuffed there. So let's draw one of these fate cards and see how we go. We have to raise the illness of all ill characters who did not take any meds, Um, then we get some instructions to discard herbal meds. Well, we don't have any meds on anyone, so that's okay. We check the number of cold tokens out on the board here. Currently there's none, so that's good. And then we exchange the nearest location. We shuffle everything down so everything else gets a little closer, and we draw a new location that we can go check out as well. We resolve any weight tokens that we've got out on the board. Currently we don't have any of those, so we don't have to worry about them. And then we resolve Spirit A on all character cards. So let's go have a look at what each of our cards will have us do. So Amira here, she has a habit. We have to discard 1 moonshine or 100% alcohol from the storage, or we have to raise Amira's misery by 1. Well, that's no good. So she's up to 2 misery there. That's a shame. Let's pop her down. Anton, our latest addition. If there's at least 1 book in the storage, lower Anton's misery by 1 if he is miserable, and raise his fatigue by 1. So the good news there, I guess, is we don't have any books in storage, so he gets off a little bit scot-free there. Not reading, but not getting any sadder, so that's good. Marco here. If any character in the group is hungry, level 3, raise Marco's misery by 1. He obviously doesn't like seeing hungry people. Luckily, no one's at that level of hunger, so that's good. And then lastly, we've got Bruno. And his is, he has a habit. We have to discard 1 cigarette from storage or raise Bruno's misery by 1. Yay, we have 1, so that's good. Let's discard that from storage, and we don't have to raise his misery at all. And that's the end of the fate card there, so we shuffle that back into the deck. That's lucky. Finally, we draw 2 narrative cards here. Let's go 1, 2. And we get to choose and keep 1. So duty here. This will help us deal with some of the rubble hanging around, or we've got Night Owl, which we can play at the beginning of the evening phase, and a chosen character can perform all of their actions again, as if it was the day phase. So that'll give us 2 bonus actions for any character, or 3 if we chose Anton. That's great. Let's keep that one in storage there. We shuffle the other one back in, and we are doneskis. So that's a full day-night cycle. We didn't have a look at our chapter objective, so let's have a look at that one just so we know what we have to get done. We have to take care of ourselves. So by the end of the first chapter, each character's misery must be lower than 2. Ooh, I did not know that. There is a reward if we can pull it off. For each character, choose any 1 state and lower it by 1. Unfortunately, there is a penalty if we can't pull it off. Raise 1 chosen character's illness by 2. Not good. So that's our first objective. So far we're on track. We probably have to start minimizing Amira's misery, probably having to get some alcohol on board. So basically the new day starts just as the first. We start off by drawing the event, and this is where cold starts coming into play. This one here says we have to add 1 cold to the cold space. We take one of these cold tokens here and chuck it up there, saying it's pretty cold. Bad things happen, of course, if we can't manage this cold. That's why we built that heater. What else we got? If more than 1 character went scavenging during the previous night, your shelter becomes the target of a shelling. Oh my lord. Distribute 2 wounds between any present characters and destroy 1 already built fitting card. Ay, ay, ay. So after our first night, we get shelled because we went to the sniping grounds kind of thing, and we lose our heater, and we have to distribute some wounds across the team. This is terrible. But yeah, that is our first day under wraps. So as you can see, we're going to take a couple of slaps to the face throughout this game. It's certainly not going to be an easy one to survive fully. I'm sure we're going to have some characters die off at some point, but yeah, wow. But yeah, I guess that is pretty much what you're going to be expecting throughout the game. You're going to be, moving your characters, sending them to work, building things, scavenging for things, and then having all the hope that you've gathered throughout the game dashed at the morning of the very next day. Yeah, wow. Alright guys, there it is. That's a single day-night cycle in this War of Mine. Now there's a couple of things that we didn't see, like combat, the trading mechanism, but this game that's just the way this game rolls. Some games you'll be battling depression and some of the mental aspects of war. Other times it'll be very physical and you're going to be defending your home for your possessions, for your lives. It's so broad, this game. Now this is all shaped by the events deck, by the scenario goals, by the exploration decks as you play through each of those locations. There's just such a wicked combination of things that this game can throw at you. And it's not going to be an easy one either. It was 2 steps forward, 3 steps back for me that first day. I got some cool stuff when I went away, but I lost a bunch of stuff from my home due to those night raids. And that's the world that's being built here, because it's an absolute fight for survival in this game. And it's very unlikely that you're going to come out a winner the first time you play it. There are just so many unknown factors when you first head into the game, and that is a wonderful thing about this game. First time I played, I had no idea about the importance of bringing together something to keep you warm from the cold. By that second night, I had 5 coal built up and absolutely no way to deal with it. So that the second time I started my game, I went straight into building that heating source. Of course, there are other things that whipped my ass because of that, but I think that's just part of the charm of this game. Now, this War of Mine is not necessarily a fun experience. Like, you'll enjoy playing the game, absolutely. But due to its subject matter, its mature content, this is a game that is going to tug at your heartstrings and really put you in a position where you are fighting for your life in this war scenario. This is one of those games where if you do scrape through with a win and survive the campaign, you really look back at it and go, did I win? Anyway, this is an absolute unique experience. There is nothing like it. This level of story, this level of depth and engagement with you as a player is just unheard of elsewhere. It's part choose your own adventure, part worker placement, part push your luck. You're going to be taking control of characters, so you've got that sort of team building, almost RPG-like thing going on. So deep, so good, so much breadth and replayability in this game. Now, this game's certainly not going to be for everyone. It's very much a storytelling game. So if you need your, developed strategy, if you need your player versus player endgame scoring side of thing, this is not it. This is much more of an experience than it is a game. Sure, there's some strategies to get you through, but there's a lot of random in here as well. Now, the random is well handled. Everything feels like it fits. Like, a couple of bad rolls could, ruin you in the game, but that's just the nature. That is war in this game. So the random here actually adds to the theme. This is something that I would recommend to everyone, whatever their gaming background is, as long as you're okay with that sort of dark, gritty theme. And because of how it combines all these different gameplay styles into this experience, the chances are you're going to be able to find something to grip onto to take you through. Obviously, it's a beautiful looking game. The board, the map is just gorgeous. The pieces, all your different tokens for all the different things that you can find and craft throughout the game, just wonderful. And those added bonuses from the Kickstarter edition are just fantastic. The dice themselves are worth tracking down, I gotta say. So yeah, this one's an absolute keeper for me. There's nothing like it in my collection. And I don't think I've seen anything quite like it in any collection before. If you've got any questions or anything like that, chuck them down in the comments below. I'll certainly get back to you on those. If you want to see anything extra with this game, please let me know. More than happy to get this one up for you. But beyond that, that's probably all I've got for you today. So, as always, my name's Michael. This is Bits Aboard. We'll catch you next time.